Dear friends in Christ, I was promised two things about tonight, about this multicultural day we are celebrating. First promise was, Bishop, the Mass with this wonderful choir and all the participants will be beautiful. The second promise, and afterwards at the reception you will taste food from various cultures and it will be delicious. So we'll hold you to that second promise especially. Last weekend in many of our parishes throughout the diocese, on the solemnity of Corpus Christi, the body and blood of Christ, there were many Eucharistic processions outside. And I always love to see a Eucharistic procession, because what do you see? You see those who participate, people from all ages, different backgrounds, varied vocations, walking behind Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament, but walking together as God's family, walking together as brothers and sisters in Christ. And that reality is reflected here this evening in a very beautiful way. How blessed are we in this Diocese of Arlington to live in such a vibrant, multicultural diocese. Look around tonight. The countries of origin, the cultures, the backgrounds that are represented. And it's important for us to lift each one of them up, to celebrate them. And that's what we do in a special way this evening, to celebrate our diversity and the gifts that the various cultures and each one of you bring to the Lord and bring to His church and bring to our diocese. And for that, we are deeply grateful. And yet, as we gather around this Eucharist, we're also celebrating the unity that is ours. The unity is God's family as brothers and sisters in Christ. That's a witness, dear friends, I think our world and our nation need to see more than ever from those who are followers of Christ. We respect each other. We celebrate each other's gifts. We support one another, but nothing ever divides us. More than ever, the world is in need of faithful witnesses who, like the prophets and the disciples, were called by God and sent forth to bring His message. But it wasn't easy for them. Did you hear about poor Jeremiah? In that first reading tonight, everyone was denouncing him. He suffered greatly. Felt like everyone was against him. How about the disciples? Follow me, but take up your cross, Jesus said. And they were ridiculed and rejected. Even in our own cultures, the histories of the countries of origin represented here tonight. So much suffering simply for being believers. And regrettably, that continues today. What about our own lives? You know what that's like. In your home, in workplaces and schools, where you try to be faithful to what God is asking us to do. But you know what happens when you stand up to protect the sacredness of all human life, to speak on behalf of the dignity of all human persons without exception, to uphold marriage, the beautiful vocation as God has taught it, to try to live chastely and purely, and to make sure all persons, without exceptions, are served and loved. You know what happens when we try to live that way sometimes? We might be labeled unfairly and harshly. We might be dismissed or ignored, and sometimes ridiculed. And yet that's what happened to the prophets and disciples. And if you listen to the message they received into tonight's readings, I think it comes down to two words, what they heard the Lord saying to them. Live fearlessly. Live fearlessly. And some might ask, how? How's that possible? Look what God told Jeremiah in that first reading. Have no fear. I stand beside you. The one who sends you will be the one who will deliver you. Look at the beautiful images that Jesus gave in the gospel. If a sparrow falls to the ground, he says, it won't happen without the Father's knowledge. And every hair on your head is counted. Now with me, that will not be too hard work for God to count all those hairs. But what the Lord is trying to say is, that's how much I know you. I know who you are. That's how much I love you. You think I'm going to let anything happen to you? You're in my embrace. I will protect you. And it's only when we believe that we can live fearlessly. And that belief is reflected in our commitment to go to God for help every morning and every night in our prayer, to celebrate the sacraments, most especially the Eucharist, the source of our strength and consolation. And that's what we do here this evening. At the end of the Eucharistic procession last Sunday, it was in Alexandria. And it was days after that horrific shooting that took place. And it was very powerful. Profound silence. It was incredibly prayerful. And when we finished, one gentleman came up to me and he said, Bishop, we did what we had to do today. We brought the one who is the source of our unity and peace to the streets that need him so much. Brothers and sisters, that's our call. So we go forth this evening, celebrating our diversity, reflecting our unity, and trusting God's promise that he will always be there to love, to deliver, and to protect us. That's how we go forth and live fearlessly.